structure of this particular thing. So the molecular structure of DNA is that it's having sugar, which is in DNA the deoxyribose RNA, the ribose sugar, and it's having nitrogenous base and a phosphate group together nucleotide, and two strands of that will be there, and the uh, nitrogenous base will be here, the ribose sugar, and the sugar, deoxyribose sugar, and the 3 prime of it will bind to another 5 prime of the phosphate by dehydration or condensation reaction by a phosphatized bond. So this we saw yesterday, as well as we saw that in DNA it is always a double stranded structure. So you have the nitrogenous base. Nitrogenous bases will bind together by hydrogen bonds, and you have the ribose sugar which will bind to 5 prime and 3 prime to phosphate. This will be the backbone, one backbone, two backbones together, they will bind. So purines and pyridines together will bind, especially over here the G and C and A and T. This only is the binding thing. And A and T, when they bind, there are two hydrogen bonds, and C and G, when they bind, there are three hydrogen bonds in between them. Okay, hydrogen bonds, we know they are weak bonds, and this phosphatized bonds are covalent bonds, and because these two together there will be binding. When you just it is like take two threads and roll it over, so it will form loop kind of structure. Similar way, a helical kind of structure, not loop. Helix will be formed over here. Okay, a helical structure will be formed. So what we should know is whenever there is A and T, there are two hydrogen bonds. There are three hydrogen bonds whenever there is G and C. Okay. Now let me ask a question. Let's see who answers in this class. Very basic logical question. Okay. So I'll take DNA, two DNA strands. Uh, One is called A, one is called two test tubes. One is called A, one is called B. So in A test tube also I'll put some DNA. B test tube also I'll put some DNA. Okay. So two test tubes A and B. A also I'll put some DNA into it. B also I'll put some DNA into it. And now I'll heat them. I'll heat both the test tubes. Now when I heat both the test tubes, then uh, A is having around 40% of A and T, whereas B test tube is having, the DNA is having around 80% of A and T. Okay, so again A is having around 40% of A and T ratio. So if 40% rest should be C and G, isn't it? So B is having around 80% of A and T, and rest 20% should be C and G. Okay, just skip that experiment. I'll tell you a little more about it. Okay, I'll tell you one more rule which is there. This also we, so I'll just come back to that experiment again. So, as I told, double-stranded DNA, it will form the helical structure of DNA will be there, and RNA will be always a single strand, but the same thing will be there. Okay. Uh, so, because it may become very long, it may form some secondary structures, but deterministically, the helical structure will be found in DNA. Okay. Now, coming back to the test, that is experiment which I told you. When ANT percentages, say in the A tube it was 40% ANT, then remaining should be of GNC. So A percentage will be equal to T percentage. Why? Because only A will bind to T. G will always bind to C. So G percentage will be equal to C percentage. So that is called Chargaff's rule. Okay, he was the one who discovered this. So it is called Chargaff's rule. That is, A will always be equal to T. G will always be equal to C in the DNA, because the DNA polymer will be very long. Okay, I'll tell you about the length of polymer like DNA, which will be then even the RNA, because it will be too lengthy. So you should know in that always A, if you know think that there are 40% of A, then there will be around 40% of T also. If you think there are 80% of G, C also should be 80% in that. Okay, that is a thing in the DNA. Now, coming back to the experiment, the question which I want to ask you all. I have two test tubes. Okay, one is having A test tube is having around 40% of A and T together. So 20% of this, 20% of this, and B test tube is having around 80% of this, so 40% of this, 40% of this. Total consists 80% of EAT. Remaining will be 20% of GC. That is also you will have to consider. If 80% of EAT, then 20% remaining will be of GC. And A test tube is 40% of EAT. Remaining will be 60% of GC. Okay. Now, coming back to the question, I told you A and P will have two hydrogen bonds. G and C will have three hydrogen bonds. One, two, three. This will have two. Okay. Now, the A test tube which is having 40% of AT, also I'll heat. B test tube which is having 80% of AT and 20% of CG, also I'll heat them. So, which A or B, what do you think? Which one will denature first when I heat? Can anyone who will be the first to answer me? Denatures to break the strands. So, which of A will break the strand first, the DNA, or B will break in given heating? Let's see who will answer. So again, A is having 40% of EAT, 60% of GC. B test tube is having 80% of EAT and 20% of GC. When I give the heat, which of A will denature first? That is, break open the DNA strands, or B will denature first? Who can answer? It is a logical question.
Sir, I think B will denature first.
Okay, who is this? Can you tell me your name?
Aravind.
Arvind. Okay. Why do you think Arvind? B will denature first.
Because in test tube A, the percentage of GT is 60%. So
Not
since
GT, GC. A and
sorry,
T will
GC,
find.
GC.
Ah,
Sorry, sir. GC has 60%, and
okay.
GC they are always connected by three hydrogen bonds. So I think they are
Yeah.
stronger over there.
So GC will be around 20% because AT is 80%. So you're right. So B, because there are only two hydrogen bonds in between them. So more of A and T, 80% of the DNA strand is having A and T. So as you eat, the denaturation will be higher in case of B test tube. Okay, and there will be less of a CG, so they will break first. Whereas in the A, because there is a higher percent of CG having more hydrogen bonds, they will take a little while. Okay. I hope everyone understood this particular question. Any queries? If no, okay, I'll move ahead. Okay, that was correct. Arvind was right. Okay, now coming to this DNA, we have seen the structure till here and some principles which are involved. And now let's go a little more ahead in that. Okay, so in my first slide in this DNA, while telling about the nucleic acid, I told that from the DNA will be double stranded, and hence helix, helical, it is called alpha helix structure will be there, whereas RNA will be single stranded. Okay, and DNA will do no extra function. Okay, it is just a blueprint which is there. From if you want that blueprint to make the work function, then what will happen is it will be coded in the RNA, and from RNA later on the function will be there. It is just like building blocks. Okay, I'll tell you more about it in later classes. But now at this stage, we should know that DNA, from DNA, RNA will be formed, and from RNA actually the functional unit, that is, we call it as a protein, that will be there. Proteins are one which will function later on. Okay. So for that, we should know again some terminologies over here. Okay, the DNA. See over here. If this is there, I'll just type in. Yeah. Okay. If this is the 5 prime end, so this is the DNA 5 prime end, then there should be the 3 prime end, because it gives a after bonding and all, the we have seen there's a 5 prime end free phosphate, 3 prime end of the sugar will be there. Okay, and when it binds, it will be anti-parallel. Parallel. For example, this will be the 3 prime. Okay, and this will be your 5 prime end. So see, for example, over here, from 5 prime, if this is there, this will be complementary. C and G will form, but it will be in a different way. Okay. So this is something important. Now, when RNA forms from this one, a single stranded RNA will be formed, because you will have to produce a functional protein, and for that RNA strand will be produced, and the RNA strand, let's take for example, the RNA has been also from 5 prime to 3 prime, 5 prime to 3 prime in this scenario. Okay, this pointer. So 5 prime to 3 prime you have, and this will be 3 prime to 5 prime. Always from 5 prime to 3 prime RNA also will be there. So you can see A will be A, C will be C, G will be G, T will be, it should be actually U. RNA doesn't have the T, okay? It should be U actually. Then T will be A, sorry, over here T should be A. Don't know why this wrongly they are given. T should be, this is A, Sorry, not A, correct. U, should be U, okay. And A will be A, C will be C, C will be C. But how the RNA will be produced is from this one. So later on, we'll be discussing about the how the RNA will be formed. The process is called as transcription. Now it is not necessary to know because I think it will come in the third module or something, third or fourth module. Then I'll explain more about that. The thing is, this will act as a template for this. Okay, this will act as a template, and from this see T is there means it will become E, it will code for A, and thus this will be similar to this, complementary to this. So G, if it is there, this will break open the hydrogen bonds over here between the C and G will break open, and this will denature, and RNA will be formed in between this. So G will act as a template for C, C will act as a template for G, and A for U, and T will give rise to A, and G, C, G, C. It looks like this 5 prime to 3 prime only. Okay. So this process in which the RNA is formed is called a transcription, which I'll be explaining later on. Okay. So this is acting as a template. So only different terminologies are given because this RNA which will be there is actually coding for the protein by codes. These are acting as codes. So we say codons. Forget about the numbers over here. This I'll explain you later in the classes. So because these are the codes, they will act as codon. It is called as codon, and thus they will produce the protein which will function whatever we need. Just like how computer engineers write codes, and that code will give rise to a function. Similar way over here, the codes are giving rise to a function. But only thing is in between from the DNA, it will be transcribed. The information is transcribed into RNA and thus be translated into protein. Nevertheless, in DNA, we will have to only know some terminologies again, some biological terminologies to not get confused. Okay. Uh, so this 5 prime to 3 prime strand, because RNA is forming something similarly, is called as plus strand because the RNA is there. Okay, or it is called a sense strand. Okay, this is called as antisense or the minus strand. Why this is important is now you all know this. We are having this online class also due to a coronavirus pandemic, which is causing infection. This coronavirus normally is having a sense strand, or it is called positive sense, or just a sense strand, or a coding strand of a DNA of RNA. Okay, so it is having a RNA, a single stranded RNA. It does not have a DNA, whereas it is having only a single strand of RNA in its genome. So the coronavirus is having only one RNA, nothing else. Okay, and because it is having RNA, that is called, for example, popularly when you see in the newspapers or any thing about coronavirus, it will be written as positive sense or sense strand and plus strand it will be written. That means it's having a ready-made RNA, and from this RNA directly the proteins will be formed. There are also some of the viruses, and those viruses will have a negative sense. So those viruses will have to undergo one more set of the replication or transcription process. We say later. I will not bother you about terminologies over here, and in that they will get the positive sense, because only the negative sense will be there in the some RNA. It will become positive, and then that will actually code for the protein. Okay, that so we should know, because here only the codes are there. It is called as plus strand or the coding strand or the sense strand, and because it does not act as a template, it is called as a non-template strand. Whereas this is a uh, functioning as a template for the RNA to form, it is called as a template strand, or just opposite this, antisense or negative sense strand, non-coding strand or minus strand, it is called. Okay, so this terminology is very important. Don't know. And then once RNA is formed, RNA is having single-stranded RNA. I told you. Predominantly, there are three different types of RNA, but apart from this, there are also many different types of RNA, which I'll not be going on in this talk. But these three are what we have to remember. RNA, again, we know it is not double stranded, it is single stranded like this. But nevertheless, because becomes very long, like this tRNA, it will have its own secondary structure like this. Okay, it will just bind like this. And here are some hydrogen bonds could be formed between the nitrogenous bases. Okay, it will be random like this, but nevertheless, because of the sequence, it will be having a typical structure which will be there. So you have three different kinds of RNA of single strand. One is called as the mRNA, from which the DNA will code the mRNA, and ribosomal RNA we call. You learn more about what are ribosomes when later in the classes. I'll deal with how the translation of the protein is formed, and this in this also there is a RNA of single strand. It is called ribosomal RNA, and then you have the transfer RNA, where, for example, this is the reading. For example, whatever here, red, yellow, blue. This is the red, this is the yellow, and this is the blue, which it is reading. So same, whatever code is there over here, that will be read by tRNA. And here, the green color which you see, there will be an amino acid, which will, I'll tell you what is an amino acid later on. So by this will actually translate the message which is hidden in the mRNA, and mRNA is getting the message from DNA. Okay, so these are predominantly three kinds of RNA which will be essentially there. Okay, apart from this, there are also different kinds of small RNA. We'll say everything. So essentially, the RNA will be single stranded. Nevertheless, it may form this kind of secondary structure uh, depending on the sequence, and because it is very long. But unlike a DNA, it will be single stranded. DNA is always a double stranded, thus it forms helices, helical structures. It is called as alpha helical structures. Okay, so you have DNA and RNA, different kinds of blueprint. And now let's go to the again the length of DNA could be very long. Okay, DNA, there's a helical structure, so you have A bonding to T, again C bonding to G, and there will be a long DNA. Can be very long. Okay, this DNA together, when it is very long, one particular, now for example, you say a human DNA, because a human has to form in the same shape. For example, many of us will we cannot have eyes in the behind our head. Always it will be front, and eyes cannot be on our thighs either, isn't it? The blueprint is already there. So exactly our nose also in the same place. For all the humans, you can see we have the hands on the sides, the leg in the bottom, and head in the top. Brain will always go in the top, and we have frontal eyes, one knows that only some rare cases you will have some more than 5 fingers. Mostly all coding is essentially whatever is encoded in the DNA, exactly it will produce similar kind of things. Okay, some variation in the total, the facial variations, each individual vary, but he may the character, the face, everything may follow some things from the parents. Okay, that I'll tell you why. But nevertheless, the human DNA codes for something similar, and the length is very long for it to code because it's having the secret, the code which is there. It is like in computer science and all, or software. So when you have password, it is the password. So it is having all the code secretly hidden in them. Okay, what you have to read it, you have to decrypt those hidden words over there, and it will be very long. So only for passwords also they say make it a long password with numbers, with characters, with capital letters, small letters, everything, etc. This also will be very long, and it will be different T, G, C, like this. It will be there. This long together put, for example, our human cells, when we take on an average, as I told in the previous classes, we have around 10 trillion or more number of cells in us, in our one individual. So every cell, though there are 10 trillion cell, every cell is having the same DNA, okay, in them. The DNA sequence of A, T, G, C, everything will be same in all the 10 trillion cells. And one cell which is having so big length of DNA, they will all be compressed as chromosomes, or the genome we call. Genome we call. Why? Because the DNA stretch, when you take the fragments of DNA which will code for RNA, and that RNA for protein is called as the gene. Okay, this we should know. So DNA, we have so big sequences in between the fragment of the DNA. For example, here TTGG is coding for a protein. This is called as a gene. It is termed as a gene. So because all the genes together will constitute one genome. So if anyone says the coronavirus, the genome, coronavirus is having the whole RNA uh, lengthy sequence, and that will constitute one genome of the this thing. It will have many several genes in them. Okay. Similar way, humans are also having many several genes. I think around 20,000 or plus, and the genes together will constitute 20,000 plus, means that there are different 20,000 plus proteins which will be coded, and they together all genes will become genome. And in higher organisms, there are different kinds of chromosomes. Uh, Chromosome we call, why? Because the color as such, uh, chromatin color will be there, chrome color will be there, and they will be like this shaped. Okay, there will be many. So this is a thing. So cell will have the genome will have many genes in them. Genes will code for the protein. In between, through the RNA, it will be the secret will be taken. That is the DNA. Like that, if you compare with different organisms, they are also called in the same computer language. Like you have 1 KB, if the viruses will have around less than 100 KB size, or a little plus or minus 100 KB, means kilobases. Basis means that A or T or G or C which is there is single base. Like that, you can see a human is having around 3 billion base pairs. Pairs because there are two strands. If A and T is the one base pair, G and C one base pair, like that, 3 billion base pair will be the human this thing, okay, genome. So 3 billion is having on 46 chromosomes, and the number of genes in a human is nearly or plus or minus around 25,000. You can see in the different organisms. In the mouse also same number of genes, but they are more or less equal 2.9 billion. And in bacteria you can see they are in million. Okay, 4.6 million, and only one chromosome will be there. There could be one or two depending on the bacteria, but the number of genes is very less. And the number of genes in viruses, when you see, it will be less than even 100 genes. There could be 3, 4, 10, 20. It all depends on different viruses. Okay. So number of genes will be less. So genes are coding for proteins. Uh, Proteins are the ones which does all the work, all the job inside. What is the job? Again, the making up or breaking up of the molecules. The job is coded exactly in the genes, in the blueprint, and this is different sizes. For example, 10 MB and less will be of a bacteria, and you can see 100 MB and more for the fungi, then 1 GB, 10 GB, 100 GB, like this it will be for different organisms. Okay, so the language in which we call same for storage of information in computer parlance also, like GB, KB, all these things will be there, and something similar storage mechanism is there. But B stands not for bytes as in computers; it is the basis. Okay, so this M, K, and G, everything is same. As mathematics, we say mega, kilo, and giga. And this instead of bytes, you say bases. That's all. Okay, it's all similar, and that depends on how long it is. So till here, whatever you saw, just recap of the thing was, see the structure you had seen, they all become polymers, and how big the polymers it will be there is, it will become so big polymers around GB, billions of polymers will be there of that told in the base pair. Okay, so one thing here we should wonder is there is 3 billion base pairs, but do you all know these 3 billion base pairs, the size of the DNA will be around 6 feet. When you keep arranging around 3 billion base pairs together, do you know it will become 6 feet? Normal male, when he is tall, we call someone tall because of 6 feet. And you know the tallest individual size will be when you take all the DNA together, all the base pairs together. But do you know it will be fit into our cell? One cell size. Can anyone guess what is the cell size of human cell? We have around 10 trillion cells in our body. What could be the size? Any guess over here? Anyone can guess could be the size of a human cell? Who can guess? Let's see who will guess first. Come on, anyone guess? Because it's a guess, you need not be correct. It's a guess which I'm asking. Who will tell? Shivani? Shivani is there? Shivani, Arvind, who will say? Yeah, Shivani is there. You listening? Or, just mute and doing some work. Okay, who will say? Yalini will say. Yalini has left. So Manikandan, can you say what is the size of a human cell?
Some micrometers, sir.
Micrometers. How much micrometers can you do you think? It's a guess. You can all just say some number. You are right. It's in micrometers. How much micrometer? Just guess any number. Tell
10 or
Manikandan.
20, sir.
How much?
10 or 20.
10 or 20. Okay, you are very close. So it's correct. It is around 6 micrometers. Okay. So 6
Okay, sir.
micrometers is the size of the human cell on an average. Okay, it is on an average. And 3 billion, when DNA is put, I told it will come around nearly 6 feet. So how do you think a 6 feet DNA put into 6 micrometer of sized cell? See, with your naked eye, you cannot see 6 micrometer size of a cell at all. But DNA, when you keep on adding so many 3 billion bases, it will become a size of around 6 feet. So how do you think the 6 feet DNA will go into 6 micron sized cell? Anyone? Any idea? It's an engineering feat. Really an engineering feat from nature you have to learn. So big sized DNA strand and you just fit it to something small and it works efficiently. So it has to do the transcription, translation, and it has to proliferate and it has to reproduce and bring in more number of genomes. So isn't it a very interesting thing and a big engineering feat is up there. So you all can learn from this as engineers how a so big DNA actually is fit into something very small. So that's something very, very important. Like for example, you can think of when computers were invented several years back, very one room was required for all the hard disks. But now you see, like due to the evolution, even in a small mobile is more efficient than when the computers were invented at the time. So you have very small. So as the years pass on, you become more speed and more efficient kind of thing. So it has learned already. So this something mind-boggling feat can be learned also from biology because millions of years of evolution has occurred and it has taught us how even a 6 feet DNA can be put in a 6 micron sized cell. How it is done is, I'll show in this video. You can just see, okay? So DNA is tightly packed, okay? And not only cell, inside the nucleus, the 6 feet DNA will be see first like this loop. This what you see is a kind of protein. They all loop coil like this and stack like this on one another. Okay. Later, this is called chromatin. This only you saw that. See, just by this condense this thing. Proteins are very important for this also. So see it is packaged and then again once again coiling and looping and it has become like so see how much 10,000 nuclei the 10,000 sized thing will fit into the edge of the nucleus. Needle, sorry. See, and this is protein called histone, and this in bacteria histone like proteins it is called. They will make it loop like this, and then this also will be coiled some more. Okay, and then one stack will be stacked on each. See, with other proteins, some more, so much of folding it will undergo. Loops, semi-circled loops, and hyperloops like this, See, tip of a needle, 10,000 nuclei like this, it can fit. So this is chromosome, and this will be proliferate. So when the cell has to increase, it will become double, and then it will equally give it. Like this, it will form more structures, and when the cell divides, you can see exactly two different. It will be equally distributed. Okay, so this kind of remarkable feat has been done by the biology. And then last thing which you should know is that the DNA which is there, the same thing, because of that in the previous video you saw it is equally distributed. The code will be equally gone to the daughter cells also, and thus the children also it will be gone. So it is something we call in inherited or heredity kind of thing. Okay, so only this is the reason why we are similar to our parents or siblings or like this. Okay, the inheritance could be, there is a genetic theory itself on that. I'll not go into much detail. Again, over there, some mathematics are required. So very easily over there also you can write the code. What could be the, you can predict also to some extent what could be the evolution which will take place depending on the number. But here we should know that inheritance we get it from our parents or nearby relatives or even in the siblings will be seen, and thus will look sometimes similarly to either of our parents or siblings, and even some of the characters are something similar. Okay, so this about the DNA. So next, this is the blueprint which is very essential for us to know. And next class I'll be telling about the different macromolecules. So we discussed about the carbohydrates which are very important, and also the nucleic acid. So in the nucleic acid, and till here whatever class you have taken, if any doubts I'll be happy to clear. Okay,